'cause I need somebody, Lord knows, to listen to me. I'm a stranger to my son who wonders why his daddy runs. Yeah. On my way to work in the morning when I don't give a damn. Can't nobody see just who in hell I am. Hemmed in by a suit, yes, choked up in a tie. Ain't no wonder sometimes in the morning I hear my woman cry. She knows a man is a prisoner. Greetings, peace, and love, and welcome again to the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition podcast. I'm Brother Frank. I'm with former political prisoner.
Abdul Hafiz.
And if you're tuning in for the first time, we appreciate that you're tuning in. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. Please press like. Donate $1. $1 could go a long way. We are here today because we have to do what we have to do, and that's advocating for the release of our political prisoners. These are our political prisoners. They fought for the liberation of our nation, the nation of people of African descent. That's why we accept ourselves as Africans, and accepting ourselves as Africans mean that we have to operate in the collective principle of collective responsibility, that we all have a role to play, and we have to play that role seriously. So whether it's one person watching this episode or if it's 100 people watching this episode, what matters most is that we're putting out content on political prisons. So that any PPC podcast is exclusive to the advocation of freeing our political prisoners. So we take that position very seriously, and we are focused and committed to getting that done. So when we talk about it's back to school, so to those students, our future looks bright based on the level of education that the students who are our future receives. So based on the level of education that they receive determines the quality of the future we will have. So we salute them on their journey to be further educated, and we like them to be educated properly. And the only way we got to do that is fight for curriculum that's in our interest. So we got to encourage them to make sure that they mention political prisoners in their school session. Raise your hand and ask about political prisoners. Say, what is a political prisoner? Or are there political prisoners in the United States? And when we look at the history of people of African descent fighting for freedom, justice, and equality, we are always going to have freedom fighters who are victims of the oppression or the counterattack from the oppressor and the oppressive forces. And that's why they're either martyrs or they're incarcerated for extensive periods of time. So today we focus on our political prisoners and the role that they need to play or they are playing in advancing us and the need for our children, our youth to make sure that they stay focused on learning about justice and learning the process in which justice takes place. Because if you're for justice, social justice, then you're for the freedom of political prisoners, because that has to be put into that. And Abdul Haq, what's your position far as the children going back to school and what they should be learning?
Peace and love. Yeah, right now, there's a whole lot of energy, there's a whole lot of excitement, there's a vibe, the school is starting, and education has always been a priority concern of our people, So we're looking at this right now, and so we're encouraging our students, and we say that there must be much work among people and organizations, to give our students what they need, both those working within the system, as teachers and administrators to do all that they can do within that realm, and those who are working outside the system. We know that if you're inside the system and you're too black, too strong, that you can get fired or you won't get no funding, So we say we don't care what the enemy says, we say be black too strong, and that people in organizations need to organize, at the same time that people up inside the system do all that they can do, people outside the system need to come together, to produce the students who are superhero scholars, who are heavyweight champions in terms of black love, black integrity, black pride, black excellence. Uh, Black moral scholars, as understand among our people, that we must organize and do the work to produce this. And like I said, a lot of this would have to be done outside the system because we remember a history of the system moving against us. When we fought for community education, for community control of our school, community control of education. The point being the Ocean Hill Brownsville movement, when the community fought to control education, for us to be in charge of the ideas, the reality that our youth get, that our students get, and the system moved against that, So this tells us that there has to be a whole lot of work independently outside the system, you understand, dealing with our political struggle. There is a history that the enemy will not tell us about, a very, very bloody reality that we will not get, and it involves a political struggle, politics being all about power, in the street. I have told, I reached out to many people when I'm selling my merch, and I tell them, you get something free. Anybody who knows who first said Black Power, not one person has answered the question. Not one person knows that it was Kwame Ture, formerly known as Stokely Carmichael, that first said the phrase Black Power. You understand? And he also said, not signifying now, but he also said that Americans are the most ignorant people on the face of this earth. He said that in other nations, they had to burn down libraries and they had to burn books, you understand, to keep reality away from people. He said in America, you ain't got to do that. He said that the book can be right in front of the person, but the person ain't going to read it, One reason is that the education that we get, controlled by the enemy, doesn't make you think that you have to pick up anything else, that you have to be to study how to get any remnants of white supremacy out of your blood, brains, and mind and heart. You understand that this is not necessary, that you don't need to study about self-determination, about politically you controlling every aspect of your life, of you being in control of the decisions that pertain to whether you live or die. All that is politics, and that is not given in a curriculum controlled by our enemy. You understand? Concerns such as us being in control of the wealth of our motherland. You understand? They will not tell you about how in the Congo there's been 6 million people murdered, you understand, by different factions controlled by different corporations, you understand, seeking the wealth of the Congo, the coltan, a very precious mineral that is necessary for all of your electronic instruments to work. 6 million Black people murdered. You understand? The system is not going to tell you about that. The system is not going to tell you that America murdered Patrice Lumumba. You understand? A brother who was said who was murdered because his position was that the wealth of his nation needs to benefit his people. You understand? That America had him murdered. America honored Nelson Mandela, but as we said before, America was involved in the incarceration of Nelson Mandela. Yeah. So there are realities that you cannot get up inside the school system, in that curriculum, which we need, to give our students, you understand, for our independent organizing and independent research, to encourage our students to push themes like excellence, struggle as hard as you can to be the full potential of what you are as a Black person. You understand? The curriculum in the school, which we need to create independently outside of the system, will teach our youth that of how the ideas and the scholarship that developed in Egypt, you understand, how the Europeans benefited from that.
Yeah, but one thing I wanted to say, I'm sorry to interrupt you. When I wanted to say that we have to have a curriculum of our own versus the curriculum that they have. Right? Because one thing that we have to look at it is that when we go to school, we're always taught of this person and that person is great. You talk about Columbus being great. You talk about these slave owners, these so-called forefathers of this society. They are supposed to be great, and they're supposed to be of some type of superior knowledge or morality, and yet they were slave owners. And I think that we have to look at that and challenge them and ask ourselves as parents and as students what is correct and what is incorrect. And when we look at the portion of the student population as it relates to the overall population, we look at the significant portion being of people of African descent. So we should be able to control our own narrative, and we have to do that by controlling as much of a curriculum as possible. And the way we do that is demanding that our political prisoners are taught in our schools. So once we start school, once our students start school right now, or our children start school right now, then if they put in a demand for certain ideas to be taught, then once Black History Month get here, then we already have a step in the right direction. We already have been advocating for that from the introduction of our school year. So now we could get political prisoners on that curriculum. That's what I wanted to say, brother. And you can continue back to what you were saying.
Well, actually, brother, you read my mind because I was about to say that our political prisoners must be a part of that curriculum. Our political prisoners were fed by the ideas, the concepts, you understand, of our Black greatness, who knew our Black history. I was about to say that it was the Black African Moors that brought the Europeans out of the Dark Ages. You understand? That the Europeans used to visit the African empires, the Black African empires for education, And so these are the type of things that gave our people who are not political prisoners, you understand, the energy and the insight and the view of reality to make them stand up against the powers that be, against the powers that be to whatever degree, an oppressed people will see them as gods, who can never be challenged, who can never be stood up to, But our political prisoners are people who stood up and fought the power, that understanding, what Black power is all about, you understand? And that our students, in the curriculum, they must get, you understand, this intense feeling of Black power in their hearts and souls, So when we teach this, in the curriculum, some of the curriculum, they might think it might be all right to have one sentence to say that there was a movement for Black pride, but when you make this a vibrant reality, a strong something that you hit the enemy upside the head with knockout blows, you understand? Then they call that extreme. They call that Black extremism, So we are saying that, we define what reality is. We define who the enemy is, and the enemy has always, from the beginning of our relationship has, moved against us in terms of wanting us to be uneducated. There was a time when Black people were murdered, you understand, for reading, you understand, when people were punished for teaching Black slaves how to read. More recently, they like I said, when we try to control the curriculum in our schools, they come against it. And right now, Donald Trump's girlfriends, those wearing skirts and them wearing pants, there is a movement, you understand, nationwide to control, for fascists to control, what our students are taught, So we saying, we don't care what they want, the heck with them, that we're going to teach our students, what they need, what is necessary for our students. In the word, what Farrakhan was talking about in a speech the other day, whatever obstacles get in your path, to struggle, you understand, with thunder and lightning, you understand, to defeat whatever obstacle gets in your path. And so this is what our students need. This is what we got to give our students, and this is what it's got to be, you understand, in the heart and soul of our students, that they're going to fight to win. They're going to say, we're going to win and we're going to conquer, you understand, and we're going to overcome whatever gets in our way. You understand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Inferiority, white supremacy, whatever it is, or falsehood, unreality, myths that are taught to our people, that we're going to teach them the real, and they're going to operate on the reality.
Absolutely. At this point, I'd like to take a time out to talk about the definition of a political prisoner. I think that we have to be consistent when we're talking about political prisoners to make sure that we all on the same page, or at least we're as close as possible to understanding what it really means when we talk about a political prisoner, because some of us are more committed to understanding that idea where we continue to elaborate and continue to get more advanced in the thinking and the understanding of how intense and how important it is to have a clear definition on political prisoners. I think that this definition right here really narrows everything down so you can separate a prisoner from a political prisoner, because all people who are currently incarcerated are victims because of social conditions. And so some people would say that those are social prisoners, right? And some people would say in other situations you have somebody who's incarcerated, and as they're incarcerated, they go through a process of redemption, and then they become a prisoner of consciousness. So at this time, we want to focus on the term political prisoner and what does it mean. This comes from something that was posted during the Curb Fest. It was on one of the boards, and on the boards, one side it had the Curb Fest, and they said, "What is a political prisoner?" And then on the other side, it had a picture of a political prisoner, and it was used to let people know why we were there, the importance of it, which is to enlighten the community about political prisoners, so that each and every one of us understands that we get nowhere without the sacrifices of others. So this definition right here is: political prisoners are people jailed on charges related to their resistance to oppression and repression, and targeted by the state for their political beliefs and or actions. And that's clear to the point. And if somebody's going to step up and do something for you, then in return you should do something for them. That's why we say you should write to a political prisoner, teach your children about political prisoner, talk to family members about political prisoners, talk to colleagues about political prisoners, so that you tear at their moral fabric and you get them to ask themselves the question: what do I stand for? Do I tolerate injustice? Do I tolerate mistreatment of any individual? If so, why is that? And if I don't tolerate that, then what am I going to do, right? Because to really say that you have a certain position on something, you're really going to take action. You're going to step up to the challenge. You're not going to be complacent. You're not going to be relaxed. You're not going to be nonchalant. You're going to say, I have to do something, and I have to do something now, because if I wait any longer, then the situation will go from bad to worse. So, brother, what do you think about the definition of a political prisoner? Why is it important that people continuously focus on a clear, precise definition of political prisoners?
Well, because our relationship here in America with this blood-sucking, capitalist, white supremacist enemy has been one of politics, and the political prisoner has engaged in politics, not in terms of what someone else describes it as going to the poll and have to select between Lucifer and the devil. When we say politics, we ain't talking about that. We're talking about power relationships. We're talking about people who have power, who have bombs and guns, you understand, and money, you understand, that they got through political oppression, you understand, and through which they rule and make decisions that affect everybody's life, you understand? Everybody is involved in the decision made by people who gain wealth through political oppression, you understand? And this is what political prisoners fought against, you understand? Fought for us, So as a people of principle, we must fight for those who fought for us, And I think at this juncture, I need to mention that one of our political prisoners, Mutulu Shakur, is in a very, very serious condition. He has stage 4 cancer, and he's trying to come home. You understand? And we need people to make some noise. You understand? Need your people to exert that power, that type of power that's social power that has always made things happen and right, and demand that Mutulu be given compassionate reliefs. You understand? Stage 4 cancer, he needs to come home. This is a brother, he was one of our political prisoners who stood up and put courage in our people. You understand? At a time when the enemy's strategy was to dominate us and to produce a race of cowards and weaklings. You understand? Political prisoners serve, as generals. You understand? In a war. You understand? To give our people faith and hope and inspiration. You understand? This is a brother, you understand, totally fearless, will stand up to something as tall as a tree, and the brother needs to come home, because he has served his country, stop fooling. Sorry. Who has served his black nation, you understand, and needs to come home. Imam Jamil needs to come home, a brother who was instrumental in changing the lives of people, who are transforming lives through his understanding of the various levels of the human being, who was able to teach and preach that we cannot live on the lower animal level. We must elevate to the highest levels of our humanity, and that only through that means can we win. Reverend Joy Powell, who fought against police oppression, police murders, you understand, and fought against us murdering one another. Mumia Abu Jamal, who was innocent, all the evidence proves that he is innocent, and others, all our political prisoners need to come home, and we need to fight to bring them home, very, very critical, do your research, do your study, you understand, tell your friends, spread the word, spread the word of the power that people have, everything that we ever got, you understand, in this America has happened because of the power of the people working against the system, not because of the system, so the people have the power to bring our political prisoners home.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we always say, and what I continuously put on when we come on, is that former political prisoner Sundiata Acoli, he said that the state don't free political prisoners, the people do. And
Right.
that has to come by organized effort. We say that in order for us to make our nation rise, we educate, agitate, and organize. And I think that that's very important, and we have to apply that to any and every idea that's that's beneficial to us as a group moving forward. So when Sundiata Acoli says that the state don't release political prisoners, the people do. We have to take that seriously. We have to organize, and we have to use every opportunity to organize our people. So that's why we say when the school year starts, which is tomorrow, for enough of us, for the public school system, it starts tomorrow. We have to start talking about political prisoners early from day one. So then when Black History comes, now we on them. We say, oh, we've been talking to you about this matter or these issues since the introduction of the school year. So why we can't get what we want? We taxpayers, and we need to take that seriously because we work hard for our tax dollar, and we need to make sure any and everybody that's benefiting off our tax dollars here's what we're advocating for. We want to take the time out right now to ask you to please donate it. Share this with 10 people. Consider then donating $1 at the Cash App.
Donate $1 ain't gonna make you holler.
Exactly. $1 goes a long way. You can put up posters. We can produce flyers. We can come up with various ideas to make sure people know about our political prisoners. I know I was out in the community with our brother Sugar Ray and Miles, Hollywood, Casio, and so many others. Irene, and that whole strong Queensbridge family that invited us. I was out there and I was talking to a number of people about political prisoners. I exchanged contacts, looking forward to reaching them and engaging further in the matter of political prisoners. I informed them about the channel, and I was very, very thoughtful. It was very thoughtful on their part to even just step up and find out why I was out there and what was the cause about. I know I met a teacher in Staten Island, and I was encouraging her to speak about political prisoners on her platform. So maybe that will happen. If so, we'll just monitor that and see how it can benefit us short term and long term. So we ask everybody to do their job because we all have various talents, and we have to use that talent to free our political prisoners. and we have to take it seriously, right? Because time is running out, and they did time for us, but a lot of them are up there in age, and their health is not what it once was. So we want them to have the decency and the dignity to pass away amongst the loving care of their family and friends and extended family, not the state. The state never cared anything about them and still don't care anything about them. So why would we think that they would take care of them, right? But whenever we have the opportunity to make sure we let the state know that we're on to them, that we're paying attention to what they're doing, we should do that because this is how we make sure our political prisoners are safe. I know, brother, when you were incarcerated and you were a political prisoner and you received visits and you received letters and a number of things that kept your morale up, how did it make the state fall back?
Well, I mean, the state, where they understand that you got support out in the street, they can't just do anything they want to do. They cannot just murder you, and get away with it. All people in prison, that's a thing that's always discussed. Is that one way to keep the state's hands off of you is for them to understand that you got support out in the street. So this kind of makes them pretend, they're great actors, make them pretend that they're human beings, even though they subhuman animals. They got to pretend that they're human if they understand that there's a force out there, that will hold them accountable.
Exactly. So you see, that's the importance and the power of an organized effort, and that's why we are consistent with producing this podcast. We out here every Wednesday at 12 noon until we decide that we're going to move a little differently and be out on the street at around this time. But for now, we're going to continue to produce episodes because we know that if I have over 1,000 so-called friends in Facebook, and he has over 1,000 so-called friends in Facebook, each and every time we produce an episode, we have the potential to reach in one, two, or more of those 1,000 so-called friends on Facebook, and they have the opportunity to share it with 10, 20 others, and the word and the idea can continuously circulate about political prisoners because we have to use what we have to get what we want. And that's why we're out here doing what we're doing, because we want our political prisoners to know that we love them, that we're here for them, that we're fighting for them, and we are committed to that fight until they bring them home, until we bring them home. Right, brother? So I think that we touched on everything. You have any closing remarks?
Just something short, and that the philosophers who came with the ideas of the founding, the nature of this capitalist system that we worked on, that we were born into. You understand? Their concept was that it is the law of the jungle. You understand? Which predominates. The one that can be the most murderous, the most beastly, and dominating, controlling. Cruelty and violence. This has been the history of the enemy that controls our education. So, by us having an independent impact on education, you understand, we give leadership to our young students, you understand, in the value of our humanity, you understand, of the potential, the high stages of our humanity, our human excellence, which has been displayed in our history, in the various epochs, you understand, in which we live in, the empires, and the times when the Europeans came to us, to come out of the dark ages, the excellence, the achievements that we made as a people, which can motivate our students to live up to the highest ideals, you understand? So I would say that our political prisoners are those who have lived up to the highest level of their humanity and sacrificing everything, you understand, for love and care for the people, for the masses of the people, to serve the people, you understand? And that we must remember this in our education and constantly remind our students, you understand, so our students will be on the right path, you understand, and won't be on the path of the law in the jungle, want to murder one another in the street, hating one another, you understand, have a vision in their hearts of heads split open like watermelons, of blood and brains sliding down the wall, you know, like that's a love song or something, you understand, with love, black excellence, you understand, achievement, you understand, and striving with all might and main, you understand, to be triumphant against anything that stands in our path, you understand, and knowing our political prisoners, you understand, is a very, very great asset toward that objective.
There you go. We conclude another episode of the NEPPC podcast. So we ask you who are sharing it to please share it with 10 people and stay in contact with us. Our contact is provided for you on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So we're signing off right now. But first, we have to end off with a word from our brother and our endorser, Mike, Killer Mike.
Right on, Killer Mike.
Do this as well. And I have to give the credit to this idea, Miss Kathy Hughes of Radio 1. She's like, Michael, it is time that you guys organize a fund to set aside to help people who sacrifice for our freedom. Meaning, every time something happens, I hear this. Why don't the gang bangers jump up and do something for us? Why don't you kill them? You kill each other. And I say to myself, when is the last time you sent money to Assata Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Mutulu Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Mumia Abu-Jamal or Larry Hoover or Jeff Ford or Leonard Peltier? When is the last time you have made it your business to send money to a revolutionary or a hoodlum that has helped us? And until we start to do that, how can we ask these young men to be warriors? Because if they do it in the name of the hood, at least the hood gonna honor their name always. At least the hood gonna make sure at least their children got something or their mama's house is looked after. As a community, if we're going to ask people to bungee jump for us with no cord, be prepared to take care of them when they get a life sentence. Be prepared to look after their families. See, I don't mind the work getting done, but let's take care of the workers. Let's stop asking more out of people than we would do for ourselves. So what I'd like to see, my dream thing, is to see 1 million people from the culture dedicate $10 a month. That's $10 million a month, $120 million a year toward taking care of civil rights leaders who have worked on our behalf and are elderly now and don't have to take care of themselves, like Rosa Parks, whose rent was paid by the owner of Little Caesars Pizza. We should have had a fund to make sure that she never had to worry about that again in her life. We should have a fund that makes sure money makes it to Assata Shakur, and Mutulu Shakur has legal representation and food, and Leonard Peltier, who has diabetes in jail, can get insulin and taken care of. And until we start doing it, $10 a month is about what you pay on a couple fast food restaurant visits. So if 1 million of us do that for the rest of our life, look at how well we'll be taking care of the people that we're asking to sacrifice on our behalf.
I agree. And recently